Question 1. The audit findings indicate that a key facilities maintenance vendor has consistently failed to meet the performance metrics outlined in the service level agreements, SLAs, for the past 2 quarters, impacting operational efficiency and user satisfaction. As the facilities management administrator, what is the most appropriate initial step to address this situation, adhering strictly to the principles of contract management and vendor oversight? Option A. Initiate a formal review of the vendor's performance against the contract and SLAs, document all instances of non-compliance, and engage the vendor in a discussion to understand the root causes and agree on a corrective action plan, following the dispute resolution clause if necessary. Option B. Immediately seek alternative vendors and prepare to terminate the current contract due to the perceived failure to meet expectations, without a formal review or discussion with the existing vendor. Option C. Overlook the audit findings as minor deviations and continue with the current service arrangement, assuming the vendor will self-correct over time. Option D. Impose financial penalties on the vendor based on the FMA's interpretation of the SLA breaches, without first consulting the contract's penalty clauses or engaging in a dialogue with the vendor. The correct answer is A. Initiate a formal review of the vendor's performance against the contract and SLAs, document all instances of noncompliance, and engage the vendor in a discussion to understand the root causes and agree on a corrective action plan, following the dispute resolution clause if necessary. Explanation. The audit findings indicate a potential breakdown in the facilities management administrators, FMA, contract management processes, specifically concerning vendor performance and adherence to service level agreements, SLAs. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires the FMA to navigate complex contractual obligations, stakeholder expectations, and potential financial and operational repercussions. The FMA must balance the need to enforce contractual terms with maintaining positive vendor relationships, all while ensuring the organization's facilities operate efficiently and safely. Critical judgment is required to determine the most appropriate course of action to rectify the identified issues, which could involve renegotiation, dispute resolution, or even termination of contracts. The correct approach involves a systematic review of the vendor's performance against the established SLAs and contractual terms, followed by a structured communication and dispute resolution process as outlined in the contract. This approach is right because it adheres to the principles of good contract management and aligns with the regulatory framework governing facilities management contracts, which emphasizes clear performance metrics, documented evidence, and a defined process for addressing noncompliance. By focusing on the contractual basis for performance and utilizing the agreed-upon dispute resolution mechanisms, the FMA acts ethically and professionally, protecting the organization's interests while upholding contractual integrity. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on immediate cost reduction without considering contractual obligations or performance metrics would be professionally unacceptable. This failure stems from neglecting the core purpose of SLAs and contract terms, which are designed to ensure service quality and value, not just cost savings. Such an approach could lead to breaches of contract, increased long-term costs due to poor service, and damage to the organization's reputation. Another incorrect approach that involves bypassing the formal dispute resolution process and unilaterally imposing penalties not explicitly defined in the contract would also be professionally unacceptable. This violates the principles of fairness and due process inherent in contract law and ethical business practices. It undermines the agreed-upon framework for resolving disagreements and can lead to legal challenges and strained vendor relationships. A third incorrect approach that involves ignoring the audit findings and continuing with the status quo would be a significant ethical and professional failure. This demonstrates a lack of accountability and a disregard for the organization's governance and risk management processes. It allows potential issues to fester, leading to greater problems and potential financial losses down the line. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Thoroughly understanding the contractual terms and SLAs. 2. Gathering objective evidence of vendor performance. 3. Consulting with legal counsel if necessary. 4. Following the contractually defined dispute resolution procedures. 5. Documenting all communications and actions. 6. Considering the impact on stakeholders and the organization's overall objectives. Question 2. To address the challenge of a client requesting immediate implementation of changes to a commercial property to maximize short-term rental income, Which approach best upholds the facility's management administrator's professional responsibilities and mitigates potential risks? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive risk assessment to identify potential legal, operational, and financial implications of the proposed changes before advising the client. Option B. Immediately proceed with the client's requested changes to demonstrate responsiveness and prioritize immediate revenue generation. Option C. Adopt a reactive stance, addressing any issues that arise after the changes are implemented. Option D. Focus solely on identifying new revenue streams without considering the impact on existing leases or operational capacity. The correct answer is A. Conduct a comprehensive risk assessment to identify potential legal, operational, and financial implications of the proposed changes before advising the client. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a client's desire for immediate financial gain and the facility's management administrators, FMA, ethical and legal obligations to ensure a property is managed responsibly and sustainably. The FMA must balance the client's short-term objectives with long-term property value, regulatory compliance, and tenant well-being, which are all critical aspects of professional facilities management. The pressure to prioritize immediate profit over due diligence can lead to significant legal and reputational risks. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough risk assessment that prioritizes understanding the potential liabilities and operational impacts of the proposed changes. This aligns with the FMA's duty of care and professional responsibility to act in the best interest of the property and its stakeholders. Specifically, it requires the FMA to identify and evaluate risks related to lease agreements, building codes, environmental regulations, and tenant satisfaction. By proactively addressing these potential issues, the FMA upholds ethical standards of diligence and competence and adheres to the principles of responsible property management, which are implicitly or explicitly covered in professional codes of conduct and best practice guidelines for FMA roles. This approach ensures that any decision is informed by a comprehensive understanding of its consequences, safeguarding against future disputes and financial losses. Incorrect approach is analysis. Prioritizing the client's immediate financial request without a comprehensive risk assessment is an ethically unsound and potentially illegal approach. This failure to conduct due diligence violates the FMA's professional responsibility to manage the property prudently. It could lead to breaches of lease agreements, non-compliance with building codes or environmental regulations, and ultimately, significant financial penalties or legal action against the client and the FMA. This approach neglects the fundamental duty to protect the asset and its occupants, focusing solely on the potential for increased revenue without considering the operational feasibility and legal implications is also a flawed strategy. While revenue generation is a component of property management, it cannot be pursued in isolation. An FMA must consider the practicalities of implementing changes, such as the impact on existing tenants, need for renovations, and the potential for increased maintenance costs or safety hazards. Ignoring these factors can result in operational disruptions, tenant dissatisfaction, and potential legal liabilities, all of which undermine the long-term value of the property. Adopting a reactive approach, where issues are addressed only after they arise, is a critical failure in professional facilities management. Proactive risk management is a cornerstone of the FMA role. Waiting for problems to occur can lead to more severe consequences, including emergency repairs, tenant disputes, and regulatory fines. This approach demonstrates a lack of foresight and a failure to uphold the duty of care expected of a professional administrator. Professional reasoning. Professionals in facilities management must adopt a systematic and risk-based approach to decision-making. This involves 1. Understanding the client's objectives. 2. Identifying all potential risks and liabilities associated with the proposed actions, considering legal, operational, financial, and ethical dimensions. 3. Evaluating the likelihood and impact of each identified risk. 4. Developing mitigation strategies for high-priority risks. 5. Communicating findings and recommendations clearly to the client, outlining both the potential benefits and the associated risks. 6. Ensuring all actions comply with relevant laws, regulations, and ethical standards. This structured process allows for informed decision-making that balances client interests with professional responsibilities and the long-term health of the property. Question 3. The review process indicates that the building's primary HVAC system is operating at reduced efficiency, with some localized temperature inconsistencies reported by occupants, but no immediate safety alarms are active. What is the most appropriate immediate course of action for the facility's management administrator? Option A. Wait for a critical system failure or a formal complaint from regulatory bodies before initiating any maintenance on the HVAC system. Option B. Implement a temporary reduction in HVAC operational hours to conserve energy until a full system overhaul can be scheduled. Option C. Focus on addressing occupant complaints regarding minor aesthetic issues in common areas while deferring the HVAC assessment. Option D. Schedule a comprehensive diagnostic assessment of the HVAC system to identify the root cause of the reduced efficiency and temperature inconsistencies, prioritizing immediate corrective actions based on the findings. The correct answer is D. Schedule a comprehensive diagnostic assessment of the HVAC system to identify the root cause of the reduced efficiency and temperature inconsistencies, prioritizing immediate corrective actions based on the findings. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires the facility's management administrator, FMA, to balance immediate operational needs with long-term regulatory compliance and occupant safety, particularly concerning critical building systems. The FMA must exercise careful judgment to prioritize actions that mitigate immediate risks while also ensuring adherence to established standards and preventative maintenance schedules. The correct approach involves a systematic assessment of the HVAC system's operational status, focusing on identifying any immediate safety hazards or significant performance degradations that could impact occupant health or lead to system failure. This approach is correct because it aligns with the core responsibilities of an FMA, which include ensuring the safe, efficient, and compliant operation of building systems. Specifically, it addresses the proactive maintenance and operational integrity of HVAC systems as mandated by general facility management best practices and implied by regulations concerning building safety and occupant well-being. The ethical imperative to provide a safe and healthy environment for building occupants is paramount, and this approach directly supports that. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on immediate cost savings by deferring non-critical maintenance would be professionally unacceptable. This failure stems from a disregard for the potential long-term consequences, such as increased energy consumption, premature system wear, and the eventual need for more expensive repairs or replacements. Ethically, it compromises the FMA's duty of care to the building occupants and the owner. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes cosmetic upgrades over essential system checks would also be professionally unacceptable. This demonstrates a misallocation of resources and a failure to understand the foundational importance of operational systems. It neglects the regulatory and ethical obligation to maintain systems that directly impact safety and habitability. A third incorrect approach that involves waiting for a system failure before initiating any maintenance action is reactive and highly risky. This approach is professionally unacceptable as it ignores the principles of preventative maintenance, which are crucial for system longevity and reliability. It also creates significant potential for disruption, safety hazards, and non-compliance with any implied or explicit maintenance standards. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a risk-based assessment. This means evaluating the potential impact of any issue on occupant safety, operational continuity, regulatory compliance, and financial implications. The FMA should consult relevant building codes, manufacturer recommendations, and internal maintenance protocols to inform their decisions. Prioritization should always lean towards actions that address immediate safety concerns and ensure regulatory adherence, followed by preventative maintenance to ensure long-term system health and efficiency. Question 4. What factors determine the appropriate balance between immediate cost reduction and the long-term integrity and safety of a facility's preventive maintenance program, considering potential impacts on occupant well-being and regulatory compliance? Option A. The personal preference of senior management regarding aesthetic improvements versus functional maintenance, and the ease of delaying non-critical tasks without immediate visible consequences. Option B. The criticality of the equipment or system to facility operations and occupant safety, regulatory requirements for specific maintenance tasks, and the potential for deferred maintenance to escalate into more costly corrective actions or safety hazards. Option C. The perceived urgency of budget cuts and the availability of cheaper, alternative maintenance providers, regardless of their qualifications or contractual obligations. Option D. The historical frequency of breakdowns for specific assets and the general economic climate, without specific consideration for regulatory mandates or the potential for cascading failures. Correct answer is B. The criticality of the equipment or system to facility operations and occupant safety, regulatory requirements for specific maintenance tasks, and the potential for deferred maintenance to escalate into more costly corrective actions or safety hazards. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing cost-saving measures with the ethical and regulatory obligation to maintain a safe and functional facility. The Facilities Management Administrator, FMA, must navigate potential conflicts between immediate financial pressures and long-term operational integrity, as well as the well-being of occupants. Careful judgment is required to ensure that decisions are not only financially prudent, but also compliant with relevant regulations and ethical standards. The correct approach involves a comprehensive assessment of the facility's needs, prioritizing critical preventive maintenance tasks based on risk, regulatory requirements, and operational impact. This includes understanding the life cycle costs of assets, the potential consequences of deferred maintenance, safety hazards, increased corrective maintenance costs, reduced asset lifespan, and the contractual obligations with vendors. Adhering to established preventive maintenance schedules, documented procedures, and vendor contracts ensures compliance with industry best practices and any applicable building codes or safety regulations that mandate certain maintenance standards. Ethically, this approach prioritizes the safety and well-being of building occupants and the responsible stewardship of organizational assets. An incorrect approach would be to unilaterally cut preventive maintenance budgets without a thorough risk assessment or consideration of regulatory mandates. This could lead to regulatory noncompliance if specific maintenance is legally required for safety or operational standards. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for occupant safety and a failure to uphold the FMA's duty of care. Another incorrect approach would be to solely focus on the lowest cost vendor for all maintenance services without evaluating their qualifications, reliability, or adherence to contractual terms. This could result in substandard work, increased corrective maintenance, potential safety issues, and breaches of contract, leading to legal and financial repercussions. Ethically, it compromises the quality of service and potentially endangers occupants. A further incorrect approach would be to defer all non-critical maintenance indefinitely to conserve immediate funds, without establishing a plan for future remediation. This neglects the proactive nature of preventive maintenance, which is designed to prevent larger, more costly issues. It can lead to a cascade of failures, increased emergency repairs, and a significant long-term financial burden, as well as potential safety hazards. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Understanding the regulatory landscape. Identify all applicable building codes, safety regulations, and industry standards related to facility maintenance. 2. Risk assessment. Evaluate the potential consequences of deferring or altering maintenance schedules, considering safety, operational disruption, and financial impact. 3. Data-driven prioritization. Utilize historical maintenance data, asset condition assessments, and criticality analysis to prioritize preventive maintenance tasks. 4. Budgetary review and justification. Develop a maintenance budget that reflects both operational needs and financial constraints, clearly justifying any proposed changes based on risk and impact. 5. Vendor due diligence and contract management. Ensure all vendors are qualified, their contracts are clear and enforceable, and their performance is monitored. 6. Stakeholder communication. Engage with relevant stakeholders to communicate maintenance plans, risks, and budget considerations. Question 5. Risk assessment procedures indicate that commercial property managed by the Facilities Management Administrator, FMA, has 3 significant issues requiring attention: a potential fire hazard in the electrical room, a non-compliant ramp at the main entrance creating an accessibility barrier, and an outdated HVAC system that is highly inefficient. The FMA has limited budget and staff availability for immediate action. Which approach best addresses these issues from a facilities management perspective? Option A. Focus on resolving the accessibility issue with the ramp, as this directly impacts tenant experience and compliance with anti-discrimination laws. Option B. Initiate the HVAC system upgrade to improve energy efficiency, as this is a long-term cost-saving measure. Option C. Attempt to address all three issues concurrently to ensure all areas of concern are being managed. Option D. Immediately address the potential fire hazard in the electrical room, then rectify the accessibility issue with the ramp, and finally plan for the HVAC system upgrade. The correct answer is D. Immediately address the potential fire hazard in the electrical room, then rectify the accessibility issue with the ramp, and finally plan for the HVAC system upgrade. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires the Facilities Management Administrator, FMA, to balance immediate operational needs with long-term compliance and tenant safety, all while managing limited resources. The FMA must exercise sound judgment to prioritize actions that mitigate the most significant risks without compromising essential services or violating regulatory obligations. The pressure to address multiple issues simultaneously, coupled with potential budget constraints, necessitates a systematic and informed decision-making process. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves prioritizing the identified risks based on their potential impact on health, safety, and regulatory compliance. This aligns with the fundamental principles of facilities management, which mandate proactive risk mitigation and adherence to established standards. Specifically, addressing the fire safety issue first is paramount due to the immediate and severe threat it poses to life and property, and the stringent regulatory requirements surrounding fire prevention and response. Subsequently, addressing the accessibility issue is crucial for ensuring compliance with disability discrimination legislation and maintaining an inclusive environment for all building occupants. Finally, the energy efficiency upgrade, while beneficial, represents a lower immediate risk and can be scheduled after the critical safety and compliance matters are resolved. This phased approach ensures that the most pressing concerns are handled first, thereby safeguarding occupants and maintaining legal standing. Incorrect approach is analysis. An approach that prioritizes the energy efficiency upgrade over the fire safety issue is professionally unacceptable because it demonstrates a failure to recognize and act upon immediate life safety risks. Fire hazards represent a direct and severe threat that, if not addressed promptly, can lead to catastrophic consequences and significant legal liabilities for the building owner and management. This approach would violate numerous health and safety regulations and ethical duties of care. An approach that focuses solely on the accessibility issue without addressing the fire safety concern is also professionally flawed. While accessibility is a critical compliance and ethical consideration, it does not supersede the immediate and existential threat posed by a fire risk. Neglecting the fire safety issue would expose occupants to undue danger and likely result in severe regulatory penalties. An approach that attempts to address all issues simultaneously without a clear prioritization strategy is inefficient and potentially ineffective. While well-intentioned, this can lead to resources being spread too thin, delaying critical interventions and increasing the likelihood of errors or oversights in addressing the most severe risks. It fails to demonstrate the structured risk management expected of an FMA. Professional reasoning. Professionals in facilities management should employ a risk-based decision-making framework. This involves 1. Identifying all potential risks and issues. 2. Assessing the likelihood and impact of each risk. 3. Prioritizing risks based on severity, particularly focusing on those impacting health, safety, and legal compliance. 4. Developing and implementing mitigation strategies for high-priority risks. 5. Allocating resources effectively to address prioritized issues. 6. Regularly reviewing and updating risk assessments and mitigation plans. This systematic approach ensures that critical issues are addressed promptly and effectively, protecting occupants and the organization. Question 6. The audit findings indicate that the Facilities Management Department's initiatives are primarily focused on operational efficiency and cost containment, with limited evidence of alignment with the organization's stated strategic goals of innovation and employee well-being. As the Facilities Management Administrator, which approach best addresses this discrepancy? Option A. Focus on further reducing operational costs by deferring non-critical maintenance and renegotiating service contracts, believing that financial efficiency is the most direct contribution to organizational strategy. Option B. Request a review of the audit methodology, arguing that FM's primary role is operational and cost management, and strategic alignment is the responsibility of other departments. Option C. Develop a comprehensive plan to showcase how current FM operations contribute to innovation through optimized workspace design, and how improved building systems directly enhance employee comfort and productivity, thereby supporting the organization's strategic pillars. Option D. Immediately implement a new, cutting-edge FM technology solution that promises significant cost savings, assuming this will indirectly support strategic goals by freeing up budget for innovation. The correct answer is C. Develop a comprehensive plan to showcase how current FM operations contribute to innovation through optimized workspace design, and how improved building systems directly enhance employee comfort and productivity, thereby supporting the organization's strategic pillars. Explanation: the audit findings indicate a potential disconnect between the facilities management department's operational activities and the broader strategic objectives of the organization. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires the Facilities Management Administrator, FMA, to bridge the gap between day-to-day operational efficiency and long-term organizational goals, ensuring that FM contributes demonstrably to business success. Careful judgment is required to identify the root cause of the disconnect and propose solutions that align FM with strategy, rather than viewing it as a purely cost center. The correct approach involves actively engaging with senior leadership and other departmental heads to understand their strategic priorities, and then demonstrating how FM initiatives, such as optimizing space utilization for collaboration or implementing energy-efficient technologies that reduce operational costs and environmental impact, directly support these objectives. This aligns with the principles of integrated facilities management, IFM, where FM is seen as a strategic partner rather than a support function. Regulatory frameworks, while not explicitly detailed for this exam's jurisdiction, generally emphasize the importance of aligning all organizational functions with overarching business goals for efficiency and sustainability. Ethically, an FMA has a responsibility to ensure the organization's resources, including facilities, are managed in a way that maximizes their contribution to the company's mission and values. An incorrect approach would be to focus solely on cost reduction without considering the strategic implications. For example, implementing drastic cuts to maintenance budgets without assessing the impact on occupant productivity or the long-term lifespan of assets would be a failure. This neglects the FM's role in organizational strategy and its impact on occupant well-being and productivity, potentially leading to higher long-term costs due to increased downtime and repairs. Another incorrect approach would be to implement new FM technologies without understanding how they integrate with existing systems or contribute to strategic goals, leading to wasted investment and potential disruption. This fails to recognize the importance of FM technology and trends in supporting strategic objectives. A further incorrect approach would be to dismiss the audit findings as purely operational issues without considering the strategic context, thereby failing to address the underlying problem of misalignment. A professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve: 1. Thoroughly understanding the audit findings and their implications. 2. Seeking to understand the organization's strategic objectives from multiple stakeholders. 3. Evaluating current FM practices against these strategic objectives. 4. Developing and proposing FM initiatives that demonstrably support strategic goals, considering aspects like occupant productivity, sustainability, and technological integration. 5. Communicating the value and impact of FM in strategic terms to senior leadership. Question 7. Cost-benefit analysis shows that implementing a comprehensive energy efficiency upgrade program, establishing robust waste diversion initiatives, and adopting a sustainable procurement policy would yield significant long-term operational savings and enhance the facility's environmental performance. Which of the following approaches best aligns with these findings and best practices in facilities management for sustainability? Option A. Focus solely on immediate cost reductions by deferring maintenance on existing energy-intensive systems and discontinuing recycling programs. Option B. Focus exclusively on indoor environmental quality improvement without considering energy efficiency or waste management. Option C. Invest heavily in expensive, unproven green technologies without a thorough assessment of their return on investment and operational feasibility. Option D. Prioritize the implementation of energy-efficient upgrades and robust waste diversion programs, supported by a comprehensive sustainable procurement policy. The correct answer is D. Prioritize the implementation of energy-efficient upgrades and robust waste diversion programs, supported by a comprehensive sustainable procurement policy. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing competing priorities, immediate cost savings versus long-term sustainability benefits and regulatory compliance. Facilities Management Administrators, FMA, must navigate the pressure to reduce operational expenses while also fulfilling their responsibilities related to environmental stewardship and potentially mandated green building standards. The challenge lies in demonstrating the value of sustainable practices beyond simple cost reduction, often requiring a nuanced understanding of their impact on occupant well-being, operational efficiency, and corporate reputation. Careful judgment is required to select strategies that are both economically viable and environmentally responsible, aligning with the organization's strategic goals and any applicable regulatory frameworks. The correct approach involves prioritizing the implementation of energy-efficient upgrades and robust waste diversion programs, supported by a comprehensive sustainable procurement policy. This approach is right because it directly addresses key pillars of sustainability relevant to facilities management, such as energy conservation and waste reduction, which are often subject to regulatory scrutiny and offer significant long-term cost savings and environmental benefits. Implementing energy-efficient technologies, like LED lighting and smart HVAC controls, not only reduces utility bills, but also contributes to lower greenhouse gas emissions, aligning with broader environmental goals. Establishing comprehensive waste diversion programs, including recycling and composting, minimizes landfill waste and can reduce disposal costs, while also promoting resource conservation. A sustainable procurement policy ensures that the life cycle impact of purchased goods and services is considered, favoring environmentally preferable products and suppliers, which is increasingly becoming a best practice and a de facto standard in many sectors. These actions are often implicitly or explicitly encouraged by green building standards and can contribute to achieving certifications like LEED, which demonstrate a commitment to sustainability and can enhance property value and marketability. An incorrect approach would be to solely focus on immediate cost reductions by deferring maintenance on existing energy-intensive systems and discontinuing recycling programs. This approach fails ethically and professionally by neglecting the long-term consequences of such decisions. Deferring maintenance can lead to increased energy consumption, higher repair costs down the line, and potential system failures, ultimately negating any short-term savings. Discontinuing recycling programs not only increases landfill waste and associated costs, but also represents a failure to uphold environmental responsibility and can lead to reputational damage. Furthermore, it ignores potential regulatory requirements or incentives related to waste management and energy efficiency. Another incorrect approach would be to invest heavily in expensive, unproven green technologies without a thorough assessment of their return on investment and operational feasibility. While innovation is important, a responsible FMA must conduct due diligence to ensure that investments align with organizational resources and strategic objectives. This approach risks financial mismanagement and can lead to underperforming assets, diverting resources from more impactful and proven sustainability initiatives. It also fails to consider the practical integration of new technologies into existing facility operations. A third incorrect approach would be to focus exclusively on indoor environmental quality improvements without considering energy efficiency or waste management. While IEQ is a critical component of sustainable building practices, a holistic approach is necessary. Neglecting energy efficiency can lead to higher operational costs and environmental impact, while ignoring waste management misses opportunities for resource conservation and cost savings. A balanced strategy that integrates all aspects of sustainability is essential for effective facilities management. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a thorough assessment of current facility performance against sustainability benchmarks and regulatory requirements. This includes evaluating energy consumption, waste generation, water usage, and indoor environmental quality. FMAs should then research and evaluate potential sustainability initiatives, considering their cost-effectiveness, operational impact, and alignment with organizational goals. Engaging stakeholders, including finance, operations, and executive leadership, is crucial to gain buy-in and secure resources. Prioritizing initiatives based on a combination of environmental benefit, cost savings, risk mitigation, and regulatory compliance will lead to the most effective and sustainable outcomes. Question 8. The evaluation methodology shows that a critical HVAC system upgrade is required for a major facility, estimated to cost $500,000. The organization's capital expenditure policy mandates a review of all financing options for projects exceeding $100,000. Which of the following approaches best aligns with regulatory compliance and sound financial management for this capital project? Option A. Immediately secure a short-term, high-interest loan from a non-traditional lender to expedite the upgrade process. Option B. Defer the upgrade indefinitely by reallocating the funds to less critical operational expenses. Option C. Utilize the remaining balance of the current year's operational maintenance budget to cover the full cost of the HVAC upgrade. Option D. Conduct a comprehensive analysis of internal funding sources, debt financing options, and potential grant opportunities, ensuring alignment with the organization's capital planning policy and relevant financial reporting standards. The correct answer is D. Conduct a comprehensive analysis of internal funding sources, debt financing options, and potential grant opportunities, ensuring alignment with the organization's capital planning policy and relevant financial reporting standards. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in facilities management where a significant capital expenditure is required for a critical building system upgrade. The challenge lies in balancing the immediate need for the upgrade with the organization's financial constraints and long-term strategic goals. A facilities manager must navigate the complexities of capital planning, project financing, and regulatory compliance to ensure the chosen approach is both financially sound and legally permissible. The pressure to deliver essential services while managing budgets necessitates careful consideration of all available financing options and their implications. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough evaluation of various capital financing options, including internal funding, debt financing, and potential grants or subsidies, aligned with the organization's capital planning policy and relevant financial regulations. This approach is correct because it prioritizes a structured, compliant, and strategic decision-making process. It ensures that the chosen financing method not only meets the immediate project needs, but also aligns with the organization's overall financial health, risk tolerance, and long-term capital expenditure strategy. Adherence to internal policies and any applicable financial reporting standards, e.g., those governing capital asset accounting and disclosure, is paramount for transparency and accountability. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach is to solely rely on short-term operational budgets to fund a major capital project. This fails to acknowledge the distinct nature of capital expenditures, which are typically long-term investments. It can lead to underfunding of essential operational needs and may violate accounting principles that require capital projects to be financed over their useful life. Another incorrect approach is to immediately pursue the most readily available external financing without a comprehensive feasibility study or consideration of the organization's debt capacity and covenants. This could result in taking on excessive debt, incurring unfavorable interest rates, or violating existing loan agreements, leading to financial distress and regulatory scrutiny. A third incorrect approach is to bypass established procurement and capital approval processes in favor of a quick solution, perhaps due to perceived urgency. This not only creates significant governance and compliance risks, but also opens the door to potential fraud, mismanagement of funds, and ultimately, a project that may not meet the required standards or deliver long-term value. It disregards the regulatory framework that mandates due diligence and proper oversight for significant financial commitments. Professional reasoning. Facilities managers should approach capital project financing by first understanding the organization's approved capital expenditure policy and its financial risk appetite. This involves a detailed assessment of the project's scope, expected lifespan, and potential return on investment. Subsequently, they should explore all viable financing options, conducting thorough due diligence on each. This includes evaluating the cost of capital, repayment terms, impact on financial statements, and compliance with all relevant financial regulations and reporting standards. A robust business case, supported by expert financial advice where necessary, should be developed for the preferred financing method, followed by adherence to the organization's internal approval and procurement processes. Question 9. Quality control measures reveal that the marketing department, which has recently seen a significant increase in project-based work and a corresponding need for collaborative spaces, has requested a substantial expansion of their current office footprint. Simultaneously, the IT department, which has been operating with a lean but highly efficient setup, has also requested additional space to accommodate new hardware and a growing team focused on critical infrastructure development. The facilities management administrator is aware that the department head of marketing is a close personal friend, and the IT department head has a reputation for being demanding but highly effective. The administrator must decide how to allocate the limited available space. Option A. Grant the larger space allocation to the IT department due to their critical infrastructure role, without a detailed assessment of the marketing department's specific needs, assuming their request is less critical. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive space needs assessment for both departments, evaluating factors such as headcount, functional requirements, strategic alignment with organizational goals, and projected future needs, before making a recommendation for space allocation. Option C. Inform senior management of the conflicting requests and ask them to make the final decision without providing any objective analysis or recommendation from the facilities management perspective. Option D. Allocate the additional space to the marketing department based on the department head's personal relationship and the perceived urgency of their project-based work, while offering the IT department a smaller, less ideal space. The correct answer is D. Allocate the additional space to the marketing department based on the department head's personal relationship and the perceived urgency of their project-based work, while offering the IT department a smaller, less ideal space. Explanation. This scenario presents a common ethical dilemma in facilities management, specifically concerning space allocation and the potential for bias. Challenge lies in balancing the stated needs of different departments with the overarching organizational goals and the principles of fair and equitable resource distribution. The administrator must navigate potential personal relationships and perceived departmental importance to ensure decisions are based on objective criteria and organizational benefit, not favoritism. This requires a commitment to transparency, fairness, and adherence to established policies. The correct approach involves a thorough, objective assessment of all departmental space requests against predefined criteria. This typically includes factors such as headcount, functional requirements, strategic importance of the department's work, and projected growth. The administrator should gather data, consult with relevant stakeholders, e.g., department heads, HR, finance, and apply a consistent methodology to evaluate each request. This process ensures that space is allocated based on demonstrable need and organizational impact, thereby upholding ethical principles of fairness and impartiality. Adherence to the organization's space management policy, if one exists, is paramount. If no formal policy exists, the administrator should advocate for its development to provide a clear framework for future decisions. An incorrect approach would be to grant the larger space allocation to the department whose manager is a personal friend, without a rigorous, objective evaluation. This demonstrates a failure of professional ethics by prioritizing personal relationships over organizational needs and fair process. It can lead to resentment among other departments, inefficient space utilization, and undermine the administrator's credibility. Another incorrect approach is to allocate space based solely on the department that has historically occupied more space, without considering current needs or future potential. This perpetuates outdated allocations and fails to adapt to evolving organizational priorities or departmental growth. It ignores the principles of efficient space utilization and strategic resource management. A third incorrect approach is to defer the decision entirely to senior management, without providing any objective analysis or recommendation. While seeking guidance is sometimes appropriate, abdicating responsibility for a core facilities management function without providing data-driven insights is a failure to exercise professional judgment and leadership. It suggests an unwillingness to engage with the complexities of space planning and management. Professionals should approach such situations by first understanding the organization's strategic objectives and existing space management policies. They should then establish clear, objective criteria for space allocation, ensuring these criteria are communicated to all stakeholders. Data collection and analysis are crucial to support recommendations. When faced with conflicting requests or potential conflicts of interest, seeking input from a diverse group of stakeholders or a designated committee can provide a more balanced perspective and reinforce the integrity of the decision-making process. Documenting the entire process, including the rationale for the final decision, is essential for accountability and future reference. Question 10. The monitoring system demonstrates a recurring pattern of minor lease infractions by a specific tenant, impacting the aesthetic and functional standards of a common area. The tenant has previously expressed general dissatisfaction with building amenities but has not lodged formal complaints. As the facilities management administrator, which approach best balances lease enforcement, tenant relations, and customer service standards. Option A. Prioritize addressing the tenant's general dissatisfaction with building amenities by allocating resources to improvements, hoping this will indirectly resolve the lease infractions. Option B. Initiate a direct conversation with the tenant to understand the root cause of the recurring infractions and explore collaborative solutions that address both their concerns and lease obligations before issuing any formal notices. Option C. Immediately issue a formal notice of lease violation, citing specific clauses, and outline the penalties for continued noncompliance, while also scheduling a meeting to discuss their feedback on building amenities. Option D. Issue a formal warning to the tenant, but defer any discussion about lease obligations until their feedback on building amenities has been fully addressed and implemented. The correct answer is C. Immediately issue a formal notice of lease violation, citing specific clauses, and outline the penalties for continued noncompliance, while also scheduling a meeting to discuss their feedback on building amenities. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the need for efficient building operations with the legal and ethical obligations to tenants. Facilities Management Administrator, FMA, must navigate potential conflicts arising from lease terms, tenant expectations, and the practical realities of property management. The core challenge lies in ensuring compliance with lease agreements while fostering positive tenant relationships and maintaining a functional and safe environment. Careful judgment is required to interpret lease clauses accurately, communicate effectively with diverse tenant needs, and implement fair and consistent enforcement practices. The correct approach involves a proactive and transparent communication strategy coupled with a structured and fair lease enforcement process. This aligns with best practices in tenant relations and customer service, emphasizing clear communication channels for feedback and addressing concerns promptly. Regulatory frameworks and ethical guidelines for FMA roles typically mandate adherence to lease terms, fair treatment of all tenants, and the provision of a safe and habitable environment. By establishing clear communication protocols and a consistent approach to lease compliance, the FMA demonstrates professionalism, builds trust, and mitigates potential disputes, ultimately contributing to tenant retention and a positive community atmosphere. This approach is ethically sound as it upholds contractual obligations and promotes equitable treatment. An approach that prioritizes immediate enforcement without prior communication or attempting to understand the tenant's perspective is ethically flawed. It can be perceived as heavy-handed and may violate implied duties of good faith and fair dealing in landlord-tenant relationships, even if not explicitly stated in every lease. This can lead to tenant dissatisfaction, increased disputes, and potential legal challenges. An approach that solely focuses on tenant satisfaction without regard for lease obligations is also problematic. While customer service is crucial, an FMA's primary responsibility includes upholding the terms of the lease agreement for the benefit of all parties and the property's integrity. Ignoring lease compliance can set a precedent for future noncompliance and create an inequitable situation for other tenants. An approach that relies on informal resolutions without documenting or following established procedures risks inconsistency and a lack of accountability. While informal discussions can be a starting point, formalizing resolutions ensures clarity, provides a record, and protects both the tenant and the property owner. This can also lead to misunderstandings and disputes if not properly managed. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Thoroughly understanding the specific lease clause in question and any relevant local regulations. 2. Gathering all relevant facts and context surrounding the potential lease violation or tenant concern. 3. initiating clear, respectful, and documented communication with the tenant to discuss the issue and seek their perspective. 4. Exploring potential solutions that balance lease compliance with tenant needs and operational feasibility. 5. Documenting all communications and resolutions. 6. Escalating to appropriate channels if a resolution cannot be reached amicably. Question 11. Quality control measures reveal that following a recent significant disruption, the facility's management administrator is tasked with developing a recovery strategy. Which of the following approaches best aligns with the principles of disaster planning and preparedness for effective business continuity? Option A. Rely exclusively on the recovery plans and lessons learned from previous, less severe incidents. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment to identify critical business functions, their dependencies, and the potential consequences of their disruption. Option C. Immediately focus on restoring all operational systems, prioritizing those that are easiest to bring back online. Option D. Prioritize the restoration of non-essential services to demonstrate rapid progress and boost staff morale. The correct answer is B. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment to identify critical business functions, their dependencies, and the potential consequences of their disruption. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires the facility's management administrator, FMA, to balance immediate operational needs with long-term strategic preparedness. The pressure to resume normal operations quickly after a disruptive event can lead to overlooking critical elements of business continuity, potentially jeopardizing the organization's resilience and compliance. The FMA must exercise sound judgment to ensure that recovery efforts are not only swift, but also thorough and aligned with established protocols. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a systematic impact assessment to identify critical business functions, their dependencies, and the potential consequences of their disruption. This aligns with the principles of business continuity planning, mandated by regulatory frameworks that require organizations to maintain operational resilience. Specifically, such assessments inform the development of recovery strategies, resource allocation, and the prioritization of restoration efforts, ensuring that the most vital services are addressed first. This proactive and analytical method is crucial for effective disaster planning and preparedness, as it provides the data needed to build a robust business continuity plan. Incorrect approaches analysis. An approach that focuses solely on restoring essential services without a prior impact assessment is flawed because it lacks a structured basis for prioritization. This can lead to misallocation of resources, overlooking critical dependencies, and potentially failing to address functions that, while not immediately obvious, are vital for long-term recovery or regulatory compliance. This bypasses the foundational step of understanding what needs to be protected and why, increasing the risk of incomplete recovery. An approach that prioritizes restoring non-essential services first, even if they are easier to fix, is incorrect because it deviates from the core objective of business continuity, which is to maintain or rapidly restore critical functions. This can prolong the impact of the disruption on the organization's core operations and its ability to serve stakeholders, potentially leading to significant financial losses or reputational damage. It also fails to meet the spirit of disaster planning and preparedness, which emphasizes safeguarding the most important aspects of the business. An approach that relies solely on historical data from previous, less severe incidents without conducting a new impact assessment is problematic. While historical data can be informative, it may not adequately reflect current vulnerabilities, changes in the business environment, or the specific nature of the current disruption. This can lead to an underestimation of risks and an inadequate business continuity plan, failing to prepare for the full spectrum of potential impacts. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach post-disruption recovery by first conducting a thorough impact assessment. This involves identifying critical business functions, understanding their interdependencies, and quantifying the potential impact of their unavailability. This assessment then directly informs the development and execution of the business continuity plan, ensuring that recovery efforts are prioritized based on criticality and that resources are allocated effectively. This systematic, data-driven approach is essential for meeting regulatory requirements and ensuring organizational resilience. Question 12. The risk matrix shows a moderate risk associated with the continued operation of several aging HVAC units, with a projected increase in failure probability over the next 18 months. The current budget cycle allows for capital expenditure on either these HVAC units or a significant upgrade to the building's security system, which is currently rated as low risk. The facilities management team has also identified a potential for significant cost savings by deferring the HVAC replacement and instead increasing preventative maintenance. What is the most appropriate approach for the facilities management administrator to recommend regarding the HVAC units? Option A. Recommend deferring the HVAC replacement and focusing on minor repairs as needed, while also deferring the security system upgrade. Option B. Recommend replacing all HVAC units immediately, regardless of their specific risk score, to eliminate future concerns. Option C. Recommend deferring the HVAC replacement and increasing preventative maintenance to achieve immediate cost savings, and proceed with the security system upgrade. Option D. Recommend a phased replacement of the HVAC units, prioritizing those with the highest risk score on the matrix, and allocate capital expenditure accordingly, while deferring the security system upgrade until the next budget cycle. The correct answer is D. Recommend a phased replacement of the HVAC units, prioritizing those with the highest risk score on the matrix, and allocate capital expenditure accordingly, while deferring the security system upgrade until the next budget cycle. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing immediate cost pressures with long-term asset health and regulatory compliance. The Facilities Management Administrator, FMA, must make a decision that impacts operational efficiency, financial reporting, and potentially future capital investment needs, all while adhering to the specific regulatory framework governing asset management within the exam's jurisdiction. The core challenge lies in interpreting the implications of the risk matrix and translating that into a defensible asset management strategy. The correct approach involves prioritizing asset replacement based on a comprehensive assessment of risk, criticality, and remaining useful life, as informed by the risk matrix and the organization's asset management policy. This aligns with the principles of sound asset management, which emphasize proactive maintenance, informed capital expenditure planning, and responsible disposal. Regulatory frameworks often mandate that organizations maintain accurate asset inventories, track asset life cycles, and manage depreciation and amortization appropriately for financial reporting and tax purposes. Furthermore, a robust asset performance monitoring system provides the data necessary to justify replacement decisions and ensure that capital is allocated to assets that deliver the greatest value and pose the least risk. This approach ensures compliance with financial reporting standards and operational continuity. An incorrect approach would be to solely focus on the immediate cost savings of deferring replacement. This fails to acknowledge the potential for increased maintenance costs, unplanned downtime, and the risk of catastrophic failure, all of which can have significant financial and operational repercussions. Ethically, it could be seen as neglecting the duty of care to ensure safe and reliable operations. From a regulatory standpoint, it could lead to non-compliance with asset management standards that require proactive risk mitigation and accurate financial reporting of asset values. Another incorrect approach would be to replace assets purely based on age, without considering their actual performance or criticality. While age is a factor, it is not the sole determinant of an asset's condition or its risk profile. This approach can lead to inefficient capital allocation, replacing assets that are still performing adequately while neglecting others that are in worse condition or pose a higher risk. This deviates from best practices in capital expenditure planning and can undermine the integrity of the asset inventory and lifecycle management. A third incorrect approach would be to ignore the risk matrix entirely and make replacement decisions based on anecdotal evidence or the loudest departmental request. This bypasses a key tool for informed decision-making and introduces subjectivity and potential bias into the process. It undermines the systematic and data-driven approach required for effective asset management and can lead to misallocation of resources, increased operational risks, and potential non-compliance with regulatory requirements for due diligence in asset management. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Understanding the organizational asset management policy and relevant regulatory requirements. 2. Thoroughly analyzing the data presented, including the risk matrix, asset performance data, and financial information. 3. evaluating the potential consequences of each decision, considering operational, financial, safety, and regulatory impacts. 4. Consulting with relevant stakeholders, such as finance, operations, and maintenance departments. 5. Documenting the decision-making process and the rationale behind the chosen course of action. 6. Regularly reviewing and updating asset management strategies based on performance data and evolving risks. Question 13. Market research demonstrates that facilities management administrators often face pressure to deliver projects quickly and under budget. Considering the FMA regulatory framework, which approach to project management best optimizes processes while ensuring compliance and effective resource utilization. Option A. Implementing a phased project management approach that includes detailed planning, rigorous budgeting with contingency, continuous monitoring of scope, schedule, and costs, proactive risk management, and a comprehensive project closeout and evaluation phase. Option B. Prioritizing rapid project execution by minimizing upfront planning and contingency allocation to free up resources for immediate construction activities. Option C. Expediting project closeout by skipping detailed evaluations and documentation to quickly move to the next project. Option D. Focusing primarily on the execution phase, with minimal emphasis on detailed scheduling and cost control, relying on ad hoc adjustments as issues arise. The correct answer is A. Implementing a phased project management approach that includes detailed planning, rigorous budgeting with contingency, continuous monitoring of scope, schedule, and costs, proactive risk management, and a comprehensive project closeout and evaluation phase. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing competing demands for project efficiency, cost containment, and adherence to established project management principles within the specific regulatory framework of the Facilities Management Administrator (FMA) role. The administrator must ensure that project planning and execution are robust enough to meet objectives while also controlling costs and maintaining team cohesion, all within the defined legal and ethical boundaries of their jurisdiction. Careful judgment is required to select the most appropriate approach that optimizes processes without compromising project integrity or compliance. The correct approach involves a systematic and integrated application of project management phases, emphasizing proactive planning, continuous monitoring, and thorough closeout. This aligns with FMA responsibilities to manage facilities projects effectively and efficiently. Specifically, it requires developing a detailed project plan that includes scope, schedule, and resource allocation, followed by rigorous cost estimation and budgeting. During execution, continuous monitoring of progress against the plan and budget, coupled with proactive risk management and effective team communication, are crucial. Project closeout, including a comprehensive evaluation, ensures lessons learned are captured for future projects, thereby optimizing future processes. This approach is ethically sound and compliant with typical FMA regulatory frameworks that mandate responsible stewardship of resources and diligent project oversight. An approach that prioritizes immediate cost reduction by cutting essential planning and contingency resources is incorrect. This failure to adequately plan and budget can lead to scope creep, delays, and unforeseen expenses, ultimately exceeding the initial budget and compromising project quality. Ethically, it represents a dereliction of duty to manage projects responsibly. An approach that focuses solely on rapid project execution without sufficient monitoring and control is also incorrect. This can result in deviations from the approved scope, budget overruns, and quality issues that are difficult to rectify later. It fails to uphold the FMA's responsibility for diligent oversight and can lead to noncompliance with project specifications and potentially regulatory requirements. An approach that neglects project closeout and evaluation is incorrect. This misses a critical opportunity to identify process improvements, document lessons learned, and ensure all project deliverables are met and accepted. It hinders continuous process optimization and can lead to repeated mistakes in future projects, demonstrating a lack of professional diligence. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured review of project objectives, available resources, and potential risks. Professionals should prioritize approaches that demonstrate a commitment to all phases of project management, from initiation to closeout, ensuring that planning, execution, and control are integrated and aligned with regulatory requirements and ethical standards. A proactive and systematic methodology, focused on optimization through learning and adaptation, is key to successful project delivery. Question 14. The monitoring system demonstrates an anomaly related to the ramp access to the main entrance, indicating a potential deviation from established gradient and surface requirements. As the facilities management administrator, what is the most appropriate initial course of action to ensure compliance with all relevant regulations? Option A. Initiate a comprehensive, facility-wide renovation project to upgrade all access points, prioritizing cost-effectiveness. Option B. Forward the alert to the IT department for system recalibration without further review of the specific anomaly. Option C. Immediately consult the Americans with Disabilities Act (ADA) standards for accessible design and relevant local building codes to assess the reported anomaly against specific accessibility requirements. Option D. Assume the alert is a false positive due to recent weather conditions and schedule a routine inspection for next quarter. The correct answer is C. Immediately consult the Americans with Disabilities Act (ADA) standards for accessible design and relevant local building codes to assess the reported anomaly against specific accessibility requirements. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires the Facilities Management Administrator, FMA, to balance operational efficiency with strict adherence to multiple, potentially overlapping, legal and regulatory frameworks. The monitoring system's alert signifies a potential breach of compliance, necessitating a prompt and accurate response to avoid legal repercussions, financial penalties, and reputational damage. The FMA must exercise careful judgment to identify the root cause and implement corrective actions that satisfy all applicable regulations. The correct approach involves a systematic review of the alert against the specific requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act (ADA) and relevant local building codes. This approach is correct because the ADA mandates accessibility for individuals with disabilities, and building codes often incorporate accessibility standards. By cross-referencing the alert with these specific regulations, the FMA can accurately diagnose the issue and ensure compliance with federal and local mandates. This proactive and targeted investigation is essential for maintaining a safe, accessible, and legally compliant facility. An incorrect approach would be to dismiss the alert as a minor system glitch without further investigation. This is professionally unacceptable because it ignores a potential violation of the ADA and local building codes, which could lead to significant legal liabilities and fines. Another incorrect approach is to immediately implement a costly, broad-scale renovation without a specific diagnosis. This is inefficient and potentially non-compliant, as it may not address the actual issue and could violate environmental regulations if materials are disposed of improperly or labor laws if contractors are not properly vetted. Finally, focusing solely on the cost-saving aspect of the alert without considering its regulatory implications is a failure to uphold professional responsibilities. This overlooks the primary duty to ensure the facility operates within legal and ethical boundaries, potentially exposing the organization to severe penalties. Professionals should approach such situations by first understanding the nature of the alert and its potential regulatory implications. This involves identifying which specific laws or regulations might be implicated. A systematic investigation, involving consultation with relevant experts if necessary, should then be conducted to confirm any noncompliance. Once confirmed, a corrective action plan should be developed that prioritizes regulatory adherence, safety, and accessibility, while also considering cost-effectiveness and environmental impact. Documentation of the alert, investigation, and corrective actions is crucial for demonstrating due diligence and compliance. Question 15. System analysis indicates that a facilities management administrator is tasked with improving the energy performance of a large commercial building. The administrator has received pressure from senior management to demonstrate significant cost savings within the next fiscal year. Considering the need for a robust and compliant energy management strategy, which of the following approaches best aligns with professional best practices and regulatory expectations for energy audits and assessments: energy conservation measures, renewable energy technologies, utility management and procurement, energy performance contracting, and energy efficiency standards? Option A. Commission a comprehensive energy audit by certified professional to identify specific energy consumption patterns, inefficiencies, and potential for energy conservation measures and renewable energy integration, which will then inform utility procurement and performance contracting strategies. Option B. Implement a standardized list of common energy conservation measures, such as LED lighting retrofits, across all building systems without conducting a site-specific assessment to determine their actual impact and cost-effectiveness for this particular facility. Option C. Immediately invest in a highly publicized, cutting-edge renewable energy technology, such as solar panels, based on general industry trends, to generate positive public relations and achieve immediate, albeit potentially unverified, energy cost reductions. Option D. Focus exclusively on renegotiating utility contracts with suppliers to secure lower per-unit energy costs, assuming that this will automatically lead to the most significant overall financial savings without analyzing the building's actual energy usage. The correct answer is A. Commission a comprehensive energy audit by certified professionals to identify specific energy consumption patterns, inefficiencies, and potential for energy conservation measures and renewable energy integration, which will then inform utility procurement and performance contracting strategies. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in facilities management, balancing the desire for immediate cost savings with the long-term strategic benefits of energy efficiency. The pressure to demonstrate quick financial returns can lead to overlooking the comprehensive benefits of a thorough energy audit and the potential for significant operational improvements and compliance with evolving energy performance standards. The professional challenge lies in advocating for a data-driven, holistic approach that aligns with both financial objectives and regulatory expectations, rather than a superficial, short-sighted solution. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves prioritizing a comprehensive energy audit conducted by qualified professionals. This aligns with best practices in energy management and regulatory frameworks that emphasize understanding current energy consumption patterns before implementing measures. A thorough audit provides the data necessary to identify the most impactful energy conservation measures, assess the feasibility of renewable energy technologies, and inform effective utility management and procurement strategies. It also forms the foundational evidence required for successful energy performance contracting and ensures compliance with energy efficiency standards by identifying areas for improvement. This approach is ethically sound as it promotes responsible resource management and financially prudent decision-making based on accurate data, minimizing the risk of wasted investment. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing a single, unverified renewable energy technology without a prior audit is an incorrect approach. This bypasses the critical step of understanding the facility's actual energy needs and consumption profile. It risks selecting a technology that is not the most cost-effective or suitable for the specific building, potentially leading to underperformance or overinvestment. This fails to adhere to the principle of informed decision-making and could violate implicit or explicit regulatory requirements for due diligence in energy investments. Focusing solely on short-term utility bill reductions through aggressive negotiation without understanding the underlying consumption patterns is also an incorrect approach. While utility management is important, it should be informed by an understanding of energy usage. This approach might lead to unsustainable procurement strategies or fail to address the root causes of high energy consumption, such as inefficient equipment or building envelope issues. It neglects the broader scope of energy management and the potential for significant savings through efficiency improvements. Adopting a generic set of energy conservation measures based on industry trends without a site-specific assessment is another incorrect approach. While industry trends offer valuable insights, each facility has unique characteristics. Implementing measures without a tailored audit can result in suboptimal outcomes, wasted resources, and a failure to meet specific performance targets or regulatory requirements. It lacks the professional rigor expected in facilities management and can lead to non-compliance with energy performance standards. Professional reasoning. Facilities management professionals should adopt a systematic, data-driven approach to energy management. This involves 1. Understanding the regulatory landscape and relevant energy efficiency standards. 2. Conducting a comprehensive energy audit to establish a baseline of energy consumption and identify opportunities. 3. Evaluating a range of energy conservation measures and renewable energy technologies based on audit findings, considering cost-effectiveness, feasibility, and environmental impact. 4. Developing informed utility management and procurement strategies informed by consumption data. 5. exploring energy performance contracting as a mechanism to finance and implement identified measures, ensuring clear performance metrics and accountability. This structured process ensures that decisions are informed, compliant, and aligned with long-term organizational goals for sustainability and operational efficiency. Question 16. Compliance review shows that the Facilities Management Administrator, FMA, is mediating a dispute between the IT department, who require uninterrupted power for a critical server upgrade, and the Operations Department, who need to perform essential maintenance on the building's electrical infrastructure that would necessitate a temporary power shutdown. Both departments have presented their needs as absolute priorities, leading to a stalemate. Which approach best resolves this interdepartmental conflict while adhering to professional facilities management best practices? Option A. Facilitate a joint meeting where both department heads can present their needs and concerns. Actively listen to each perspective, identify any overlapping requirements or potential compromises, and collaboratively brainstorm solutions that might involve phased shutdowns, temporary power solutions, or rescheduling to minimize disruption to both critical functions. Option B. Inform both departments that the electrical maintenance is a critical safety requirement and will proceed as scheduled, advising them to make their own arrangements for their respective needs. Option C. Prioritize the IT department's server upgrade, as technology is often seen as a more forward-looking investment, and inform operations that their maintenance will need to be postponed indefinitely. Option D. Escalate the issue immediately to senior management, requesting a directive on which department's priority should be accommodated without further discussion. The correct answer is A. Facilitate a joint meeting where both department heads can present their needs and concerns. Actively listen to each perspective, identify any overlapping requirements or potential compromises, and collaboratively brainstorm solutions that might involve phased shutdowns, temporary power solutions, or rescheduling to minimize disruption to both critical functions. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge in facilities management, navigating differing priorities and communication styles between departments to achieve a shared objective. The professional challenge lies in balancing the immediate needs of one department with the broader operational requirements and the need for sustained collaboration. Effective communication and conflict resolution are paramount to avoid project delays, resource misallocation, and damaged interdepartmental relationships, all of which can have regulatory and ethical implications if they lead to breaches of service-level agreements or health and safety standards. The correct approach involves a structured, empathetic, and collaborative problem-solving process. This includes actively listening to understand the underlying concerns of both parties, identifying common ground, and proposing solutions that address the core issues of each department, while aligning with overall facility management objectives. This aligns with best practices in professional conduct, emphasizing transparency, fairness, and a commitment to achieving optimal outcomes for the organization. Regulatory frameworks often implicitly or explicitly require efficient and effective management of facilities to ensure safety, compliance, and operational continuity. Ethical considerations demand that a facilities manager acts in the best interest of the organization and its stakeholders, which includes fostering positive working relationships. An approach that prioritizes one department's demands without fully understanding or addressing the other's concerns is procedurally unfair and likely to create resentment and future conflict. This could lead to a failure to meet organizational objectives and potentially violate service-level agreements or internal policies. An approach that avoids direct engagement or attempts to impose a solution without genuine consultation demonstrates poor interpersonal skills and a lack of commitment to collaborative problem-solving. This can result in misunderstandings, a perception of bias, and a breakdown in communication, hindering effective facility management and potentially leading to non-compliance with operational standards. An approach that focuses solely on the immediate technical solution without considering the human element and the impact on interdepartmental relationships fails to address the root cause of the conflict. This can lead to superficial fixes that do not resolve underlying tensions and may resurface later, impacting overall facility performance and team morale. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with active listening to fully grasp the perspectives of all involved parties. This should be followed by a clear articulation of the problem from a neutral standpoint, exploration of potential solutions through collaborative brainstorming, and a joint agreement on a course of action that is documented and communicated. This process ensures that decisions are informed, equitable, and sustainable, fostering a positive and productive work environment. Question 17. Operational review demonstrates that the organization is transitioning to a hybrid work model. As the facilities management administrator, what is the most comprehensive and compliant approach to managing the workplace implications of this transition, ensuring employee safety, well-being, and productivity? Option A. Primarily focus on upgrading the office's technological infrastructure to facilitate seamless remote collaboration, assuming that employees will manage their own home office setups. Option B. Implement significant reductions in office space and associated amenities to achieve cost savings, with the expectation that employees will adapt to a more decentralized work environment. Option C. Rely on existing office-based health and safety protocols, assuming they are broadly applicable to employees working from home without specific modifications. Option D. Conduct a thorough risk assessment of the hybrid work model's impact on ergonomics, safety, technology, and workplace culture, developing tailored policies and support mechanisms for both remote and in-office employees, and ensuring compliance with all relevant health and safety legislation. Correct answer is D. Conduct a thorough risk assessment of the hybrid work model's impact on ergonomics, safety, technology, and workplace culture, developing tailored policies and support mechanisms for both remote and in-office employees, and ensuring compliance with all relevant health and safety legislation. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in facilities management where a new hybrid work model is being implemented without a thorough assessment of its impact on existing workplace design and safety protocols. The professional challenge lies in balancing the desire for flexibility with the absolute requirement to maintain a safe, compliant, and productive work environment for all employees, regardless of their work location. Failure to adequately address ergonomics and safety for remote workers, or to ensure equitable access to resources and a cohesive culture, can lead to legal liabilities, decreased employee morale, and reduced operational efficiency. Careful judgment is required to navigate these competing demands and ensure a successful transition. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a comprehensive, risk-based assessment of the hybrid work model's implications across all facets of workplace management. This includes a detailed review of ergonomic requirements for home-based workstations, ensuring compliance with relevant health and safety legislation, e.g., the Health and Safety at Work, etc. Act 1974 in the UK, which places a duty of care on employers for employees working from home. It also necessitates evaluating the impact on workplace technology infrastructure to support seamless remote and in-office collaboration, and developing strategies to foster a strong workplace culture and employee wellness programs that extend to remote staff. This holistic approach proactively identifies and mitigates potential risks, ensuring legal compliance and promoting employee well-being and productivity. Incorrect approach is analysis. An approach that focuses solely on providing technology solutions without addressing the physical workspace and ergonomic needs of remote employees fails to meet the employer's duty of care under health and safety regulations. This oversight can lead to musculoskeletal injuries and other health issues, creating potential legal claims and impacting employee performance. An approach that prioritizes cost savings by reducing office space without a corresponding assessment of how this impacts collaboration, employee interaction, and the availability of essential resources for those who do come into the office is also flawed. This can undermine workplace culture and create an inequitable experience for employees, potentially leading to dissatisfaction and reduced engagement. An approach that assumes existing workplace safety protocols are sufficient for a hybrid model without specific adaptations for remote work ignores the unique risks associated with home-based environments. This lack of tailored safety measures can result in non-compliance with health and safety legislation and an increased risk of accidents and injuries. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a structured, risk management-based approach. This involves 1. Understanding the regulatory landscape. Identify all applicable health, safety, and employment laws relevant to both office-based and remote work. 2. Conducting a thorough impact assessment. Analyze how the hybrid model affects ergonomics, safety, technology, culture, and employee well-being. 3. Developing tailored strategies. Create specific policies and procedures for remote work, including ergonomic guidelines, safety checklists, and technology support. 4. Implementing and monitoring. Roll out the new model with clear communication and establish mechanisms for ongoing feedback and adjustment. 5. Continuous improvement. Regularly review the effectiveness of the hybrid model and adapt strategies as needed to ensure ongoing compliance and employee satisfaction. Question 18. Process analysis reveals that a facilities management team is considering implementing a new, less expensive cleaning product line to reduce operational costs. However, preliminary information suggests these products may have higher volatile organic compound (VOC) levels than the current ones. Which of the following approaches best balances cost-saving objectives with regulatory compliance and stakeholder safety? Option A. Rely on the supplier's assurance that the products are safe for general use, and only investigate further if specific complaints are received from staff or occupants. Option B. Proceed with purchasing the less expensive cleaning products immediately to realize cost savings, and address any potential health concerns that may arise after implementation. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive risk assessment of the new cleaning products, including an evaluation of their VOC levels and potential health impacts on occupants and staff, and consult relevant OSHA and EHS guidelines to ensure compliance before making a purchasing decision. Option D. Implement the new cleaning products in a limited area first to observe any immediate reactions, without formally assessing the risks or consulting regulatory guidelines. The correct answer is C. Conduct a comprehensive risk assessment of the new cleaning products, including an evaluation of their VOC levels and potential health impacts on occupants and staff, and consult relevant OSHA and EHS guidelines to ensure compliance before making a purchasing decision. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing competing stakeholder interests and ensuring compliance with a complex web of regulations, all while maintaining operational continuity and safety. The Facilities Management Administrator, FMA, must navigate potential conflicts between cost-saving measures, employee well-being, regulatory mandates, and business objectives. Careful judgment is required to prioritize actions that mitigate risks effectively and ethically. The correct approach involves a proactive and comprehensive risk management strategy that integrates hazard identification, risk assessment, and robust emergency preparedness, all underpinned by a thorough understanding of occupational safety and health administration, OSHA, regulations, and environmental health and safety, A's compliance. This approach prioritizes the safety and health of all individuals within the facility, ensuring adherence to legal requirements and fostering a culture of safety. Specifically, it involves systematically identifying potential hazards, assessing their associated risks, and developing and implementing control measures and emergency response plans. This aligns directly with OSHA mandate to ensure safe and healthful working conditions and EHS principles that aim to protect the environment and public health. Furthermore, it forms the foundation for effective business continuity and insurance coverage by demonstrating due diligence in risk mitigation. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on immediate cost reduction without a thorough risk assessment fails to comply with OSHA General Duty Clause, which requires employers to provide a workplace free from recognized hazards likely to cause death or serious physical harm. This oversight can lead to significant legal penalties, increased insurance premiums, and severe reputational damage. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes expediency over thorough emergency preparedness, such as implementing a basic evacuation plan without considering specific facility hazards or employee needs, violates OSHA standards for emergency action plans and can result in inadequate response during critical incidents, leading to injuries or fatalities. Furthermore, neglecting to integrate security systems with emergency response protocols or failing to conduct regular drills and training demonstrates a lack of due diligence and can compromise the effectiveness of safety measures, potentially leading to liability issues and increased risk of harm. Professionals should employ a systematic decision-making framework that begins with a comprehensive understanding of all applicable regulations, OSHA, A's. This should be followed by a thorough stakeholder analysis to identify all relevant parties and their concerns. A structured risk assessment process, incorporating hazard identification and evaluation, should then guide the development of mitigation strategies. These strategies must be prioritized based on the severity of the risk and the feasibility of implementation, always with a focus on regulatory compliance and ethical responsibility. Regular review and updates of plans, coupled with ongoing training and communication, are crucial for maintaining an effective risk management program. Question 19. Upon reviewing a critical facilities maintenance service requirement that has become unexpectedly urgent due to unforeseen equipment failure, and with a deadline looming to restore full operational capacity within 48 hours, what is the most appropriate approach for the facilities management administrator to select a vendor, considering the need for speed while adhering to UK regulatory frameworks and organizational policies? Option A. Initiate a rapid, documented tender process with pre-qualified vendors, focusing on their ability to meet the immediate service need and compliance with service level agreements, SLAs, while ensuring transparency and fairness. Option B. Postpone the decision until the urgency has passed and a full standard procurement process can be completed, even if it means extended operational disruption. Option C. Directly award the contract to the first vendor identified who claims they can meet the urgent deadline, without formal evaluation or comparison to other potential suppliers. Option D. Engage a vendor based on a personal recommendation from a senior colleague, bypassing formal procurement procedures and relying on the colleague's assurance of the vendor's capability. The correct answer is A. Initiate a rapid, documented tender process with pre-qualified vendors, focusing on their ability to meet the immediate service need and compliance with service level agreements, SLAs, while ensuring transparency and fairness. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a facilities management administrator, FMA, to balance the immediate need for a critical service with the long-term implications of contractual agreements and vendor relationships. The FMA must ensure that the chosen vendor not only meets the urgent operational requirements, but also adheres to the established procurement policies and ethical standards of the organization, as well as relevant UK regulations governing public procurement and contract law. A hasty decision without proper due diligence can lead to financial penalties, operational disruptions, reputational damage, and legal challenges. The correct approach involves a structured vendor selection process that prioritizes compliance with the Public Contracts Regulations 2015, PCR 2015, and the organization's internal procurement policies. This includes clearly defining the service requirements, conducting a thorough market assessment, developing objective evaluation criteria, and ensuring fair and transparent competition. The evaluation should consider not only the vendor's technical capability and pricing, but also their financial stability, past performance, and adherence to ethical standards, including data protection under the UK GDPR. This methodical approach ensures value for money, mitigates risks, and upholds legal and ethical obligations. An incorrect approach that bypasses formal procurement procedures and directly awards the contract based solely on perceived urgency or a single vendor's immediate availability is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This violates the principles of transparency, fairness, and competition enshrined in PCR 2015, which are designed to prevent favoritism and ensure public funds are used efficiently. Such an approach could lead to challenges from other potential vendors, investigations into procurement irregularities, and potential legal action for breach of contract or procurement law. Furthermore, it undermines the organization's commitment to good governance and ethical business practices. Another incorrect approach that involves selecting a vendor based on personal relationships or informal recommendations, without a formal evaluation against objective criteria, is also professionally unacceptable. This introduces bias into the selection process, potentially overlooking more qualified or cost-effective vendors. It creates an environment ripe for conflicts of interest and can lead to the selection of vendors who may not be the best fit operationally or financially, thereby exposing the organization to increased risks. This practice contravenes the ethical duty of an FMA to act in the best interests of their organization and to maintain professional integrity. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should begin with a clear understanding of the urgency and its impact on operations. This should then trigger a review of the organization's procurement policy and relevant regulations to determine the appropriate procurement route. If the urgency necessitates a deviation from standard procedures, this must be justifiable and documented, often requiring higher levels of approval. The focus should always be on achieving the best outcome for the organization through a process that is fair, transparent, compliant, and risk-managed, even under time pressure. Question 20. The control framework reveals that a facility manager, acting on behalf of a commercial property owner, is tasked with negotiating new lease agreements for several vacant office suites. The owner has expressed a strong desire to maximize rental income and has instructed the manager to secure the highest possible rents. During the negotiation process, a prospective tenant inquires about the building's HVAC system's reliability, as their business operations are highly sensitive to temperature fluctuations. The facility manager is aware that the HVAC system has experienced intermittent issues in the past year, though these have been addressed with temporary fixes. The manager is concerned that disclosing these past issues might deter the tenant or lead to demands for lower rent or specific maintenance guarantees, potentially impacting the owner's immediate financial goals. What is the most ethically and legally sound approach for the facility manager to take in this situation? Option A. Advise the prospective tenant that HVAC system details are proprietary information of the owner and suggest they conduct their own independent assessment if they have concerns. Option B. Downplay the significance of any past HVAC issues and focus solely on the current operational status, emphasizing the building's prime location and amenities to secure the lease at the owner's desired rate. Option C. Provide the prospective tenant with a general overview of the building's maintenance history, highlighting recent upgrades, without detailing specific past intermittent issues, and assure them that the HVAC system is generally reliable. Option D. Fully disclose the past intermittent issues with the HVAC system, explain the steps taken to address them, and offer to include specific performance guarantees in the lease agreement, while also reiterating the owner's rental expectations. The correct answer is C. Provide the prospective tenant with a general overview of the building's maintenance history, highlighting recent upgrades without detailing specific past intermittent issues, and assure them that the HVAC system is generally reliable. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a facility manager's duty to their client, the property owner, and the ethical obligation to ensure fair and transparent dealings with potential tenants. The need to balance maximizing rental income with adhering to legal and ethical standards for lease agreements is paramount. Misinterpreting or misapplying real estate law, particularly regarding lease terms and disclosure requirements, can lead to significant legal repercussions and reputational damage. The correct approach involves a thorough understanding of the relevant jurisdiction's landlord-tenant laws and contract principles. Specifically, it requires the facility manager to act as a fiduciary for the owner, while also ensuring that all lease agreements are legally sound, clearly communicated, and do not contain predatory or unenforceable clauses. This includes accurately representing the property's condition, clearly outlining the tenant's rights and responsibilities, and ensuring the lease terms are fair and compliant with local regulations. This approach upholds ethical standards of honesty, integrity, and competence, as well as legal obligations to both parties. An incorrect approach of prioritizing immediate financial gain by obscuring unfavorable lease terms or misrepresenting the property's condition would constitute a breach of fiduciary duty to the owner and potentially violate consumer protection laws and fair housing regulations. This could lead to legal disputes, fines, and damage to the facility management company's reputation. Another incorrect approach of unilaterally imposing lease terms without proper legal review or tenant understanding could result in unenforceable contracts and tenant disputes, violating principles of contract law and fair dealing. Finally, an approach that neglects to disclose known material defects of the property to prospective tenants, even if not explicitly requested, could be considered a violation of disclosure laws and ethical obligations, leading to potential liability for the owner and the facility manager. Professionals should approach such situations by first consulting the specific landlord-tenant statutes and contract laws of the governing jurisdiction. They should then ensure all lease agreements are drafted or reviewed by legal counsel specializing in real estate law. Transparency and clear communication with both the property owner and prospective tenants are essential. A robust internal control framework that mandates adherence to legal and ethical guidelines for all leasing activities is crucial for preventing such conflicts and ensuring compliance.